A gym wall at 6 in the morning, green paint, white block letters, tall as a door. If you quit once, it becomes a habit. Never quit. Nobody signed it, nobody dated it, and nobody has ever taken it down for review. Everything else in that building gets audited, the fire code gets inspected every spring, and the locker prices get argued about at the front desk. But the one rule about what we should all do with our whole lives just hangs there, and we nod at it every single day on our way to somewhere else, and we never once ask who wrote it. It's the only contract we all honor that nobody ever signed. The rule has exactly one job, and you felt it do that job. The job is a hand on your shoulder. Here's a man at a kitchen table, coat still on, holding 3 pieces of paper in 2 closed hands. A lease on a shop that hasn't paid for its own lights in 2 years. A ticket for a show tonight, bought back in October by a slightly different man. A schedule for a league he stopped loving 2 seasons ago. He wants something small, the way people usually do. He wants to put one of them down, just one. And the hands won't open, and we should say this clearly before anything else. He's not weak, and he's not a fool, and neither are you. If you've ever held something 2 years past the wanting, you already know him. Most of us are him. He keeps the shop open to protect the money he's already lost, and tells people it's about to turn a corner. It's been about to turn that corner so long, it has a permanent address there. That's not a business plan. That's a hostage negotiation, where he's both parties. Now, about the wall's author. The quote belongs to Michael Jordan, and the record keeper would like a word, because he retired 3 times, October 1993, January 1999, and finally in 2003, after a last season in Washington. 3 quits spread across a decade, and here's the part that matters to us. Every one of them was reasonable. He left when leaving made sense. He came back when coming back made sense, and his life is fine. The man kept deciding over and over in public. The quote never checked in with its own author. Nobody repaints a wall just because the author changed his mind. A banquet hall with balloons and a banner over the door. We throw a party for every start we can find, don't we? The new job, the new house, the new marriage, the new city. And we're right too, because starts are worth the cake. But look at the guest list, because every one of those starts required a quit that nobody catered. She left a firm to open the food truck. He left a hometown to take the job. Every start we've ever celebrated is a quit wearing a better outfit. Starting and quitting are the same door, photographed from opposite sides. We frame one picture and hide the other in a drawer. We cheer every entrance and we bill every exit. Half the guests at every wedding are toasting somebody's excellent divorce. So why won't his hands open, his and ours, if the wanting is real? Because somebody weighed the grip. A grocery scale with a thumb resting quietly on it. That's your head. And 2 psychologists named Kahneman and Tversky spent years measuring the thumb. Losses weigh more than gains, reliably and by a lot. In their 1992 numbers, the tilt came out near 2.25 to 1. Lose $100, and you need about 225 in wins before you feel even. One honest footnote. Researchers still argue over that exact figure, though the tilt itself keeps showing up in every version of us they test. And the tilt is the whole point. Leaving anything is priced before you've weighed a single fact about your actual life, at more than double what staying costs. The game was set before any of us sat down. Your brain is a casino that rigged the odds against leaving. And you're a regular, a theater ticket on a dashboard, and outside the windscreen, a snowstorm. In 1985, Arks and Bloomer ran the theater ticket experiments, and the finding has a terrible little smile on it. People who paid more for their tickets went to more of the shows, even when going made their evening measurably worse. The money was gone either way. It left when the ticket was bought, and some part of you always knows it. But the ticket in the coat pocket has a small voice, and the voice has a 4-word speech. You already paid. That speech works in theaters, and it works in our marriages, and our careers, and it has worked in our wars. You already paid is the only ghost story money knows how to tell. And we keep driving into the snow to hear the ending. Economists call it the sunk cost fallacy. The theater calls it a subscription. A donkey in an empty field, standing exactly between a bale of hay and a pail of water. Equally hungry, equally thirsty, the two prizes equally far. That's the trap. The setup is 700 years old, aimed at a philosopher called John Buridan, with older versions in Aristotle and Al-Ghazali. So this donkey has excellent references. Unable to find one reason to prefer the hay over the water, it declines to choose at all, and it dies of both. Read that outcome carefully, because the donkey didn't die of hunger, and it didn't die of thirst. It died of the standing still. And we owe the animal an apology of sorts, because it wasn't being stubborn, it was being safe. And as long as it never chose, it could never choose wrong. 7 centuries of philosophers have handled the case and reached a rare unanimous verdict. Refusing to choose is a choice, and it's the one with the worst record in the file. The debate continues, as debates do. The donkey remains dead. A textbook open to a page of hexagons, which is what dread looks like in a chemistry building, and beside it, an ashtray. Some hard stretches are tunnels, dark, long, miserable, and attached to daylight at the far end. Every doctor you've ever trusted got through organic chemistry, which proves the far end exists. Other hard stretches are holes wearing a tunnel's uniform. Nobody has ever smoked their way through emphysema, because that road doesn't go anywhere. It just goes down. From the inside, the two feel identical. Both hurt, both invite you to stop, and both come with a voice saying, "Winners don't." The wall can't tell them apart for us, because the wall only knows one word. It says, push to the medical student and the smoker alike. A rule with one answer for 2 different roads isn't wisdom. It's paint. Knowing which one you're in is the entire skill. Let's say that again, slowly, because it isn't a joke. Knowing which one you're in is the entire skill, and there is one quit that always, without exception, puts you in the hole. A plant on a windowsill in Connecticut, 1976. Ellen Langer and Judith Roden ran a study across 2 floors of a nursing home. On one floor, residents were given a plant to care for themselves, along with small daily choices, how to arrange the room, which night to see the film. On the other floor, the staff handled everything kindly and completely, plant included. 18 months later, the researchers counted. On the floor where everything was handled, 30% of the residents had died. On the floor where the residents kept deciding, 15%. Those are the numbers as the study reported them, and the literature has raised its caveats since. But the plain reading deserves a plain sentence. The people who kept making small choices died at half the rate. The plant was never the medicine. The choosing was. So there is exactly one quit in our whole story that can cost you everything. And it isn't the lease, and it isn't the league, and it isn't the show. It's quitting the deciding. Snow on a front step, and the man standing in it, ticket in hand, 1 hour before curtain. He doesn't want to go. And for the first time in years, he lets the wanting count as evidence. Watch his hands now, because they're about to do the bravest small thing you'll see all week. He bends down and lays the ticket on the step. Face up, paid for, finished. Nothing dramatic follows, which is how most of our bravest moments go. The ceiling holds, the floor stays put. The world declines to end. And his hands are open, for the first time all evening, and maybe for the first time in years. Here's what the wall never told him, and never told you either. Open hands aren't empty hands. They're available ones. He goes inside, and the last thing you see is what the open hands pick up. A small plant, lifted onto the windowsill, into the light, his to keep alive from now on. Because there really is one thing we never quit, and it was never the lease, or the league, or the ticket. It's the deciding. And tonight he did it on a cold step. That isn't giving up. That's the grip, finally letting go of him. The wall will still be there tomorrow, freshly painted, 2 words long. Let it say what it wants. We can afford to be generous with it now. It was never the wall's decision to make.